Yeah.
What's your name?
Austin Myers.
Austin, is there something that you would like to say to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I can only imagine the pain and loss felt by Mark and Sandy Cates, and by Jake and Back, Justin's brother. I have brothers and sisters myself. I can only imagine what it would be like to lose one of them. I'm sorry that this happened. And I know that doesn't bring Justin back, but I'm sorry. I wish I could go back in time and stop this before it even happened, but I can't. I hate for any family to go through such pain and suffering as this. To lose your son, I can't imagine. To lose your brother. If you choose for me to die, it's only going to cause more pain and suffering for another family. Not me. It won't hurt me. I won't feel anything. It's going to hurt more innocent people. My mom and my dad, and my brothers Bryce and Josh over there, and Carson and Sage. To my sisters, Alex and Jenna, and Eva and Cammie. The people that I love. I'm asking you not to do this to my brothers and my sisters who love me and look up to me. I ask you not to spread this pain any further to any more innocent people. The terrible events of this past January have caused more than enough pain already. If you kill me, it won't fix anything. It won't bring Justin back. It's only going to hurt more innocent people. I don't want to hurt people. I'm not asking you to spare my life so I can hurt anyone. I want to help people. I want to help stop tragedies like this from happening. All I'm asking you for is a chance for me to become a better person.
Austin Myers was born on January 4th, 1995, and grew up in Waynesville, Ohio. His parents, Danielle and Gregory, had 5 children together, with Austin being the eldest. His parents claimed to have been present in his life and taught him right from wrong. They also claimed to have disciplined him whenever it was warranted. When Austin was a year old, his parents' relationship started to fail, and by age 2, his parents were in serious turmoil because Austin's mother, Danielle, had an affair with a coworker and became pregnant by the lover. Gregory chose to continue living in the house with his children, despite his wife cheating on him. As a young boy, Austin was well-behaved and took an interest in piano, so his parents gave him private lessons. He eventually learned how to play and ended up performing for people at recitals. When it came to academics, he was considered very gifted and scored in the 98th percentile in math and science and scored in the 99th percentile in reading and writing. For social studies, he scored in the 97th percentile. Austin saw that his parents were not doing well, and it began to affect him. In May 2009, he ran away from home. An officer found Austin, brought him home, and told Danielle that Austin was hurting himself and had even shot himself in the leg with a pellet gun. Danielle was concerned, so she took him to the Kettering Behavioral Medicine Center Youth Services, which was an inpatient facility. His stay was for a week, and he was diagnosed with depressive disorder and substance-induced mood disorder. It was discovered that Austin was abusing Benadryl. For his diagnosis, he was prescribed Prozac. The therapist claimed that Austin told her that Gregory had hurt him in the past, but Danielle and Gregory disputed the claim. 2 months after this incident, in July 2009, Austin's father moved out of the family home and he officially divorced from his wife. After this, gifted Austin's grades began to decline and he developed behavioral issues. While in middle school, Austin befriended a fellow student by the name of Justin Back. The two were very good friends in the 7th and 8th grade. Justin ended up going to Waynesville High School, and after graduating, he was going to enlist in the Navy. He had many things going for himself, and Austin knew that Justin had a lot of money because when he would spend time at Justin's house, there was a safe that was usually cracked open, and Justin told him that it contained $20,000. The two eventually stopped hanging around each other because Justin's mother was against her son being around Austin, who appeared to be a bad influence. Fast forward to January 27, 2014. 18-year-old Austin, who had just acquired a new job, slept in, missing his start time. He reached out to his 19-year-old friend, Timothy Mosley, and asked Timothy if he wanted to make some money. Timothy was interested. They discussed whether or not they should rob a drug dealer or his childhood friend Justin Back's stepfather, Mark Cates. Austin informed Timothy of the $20,000 in the safe, and they both agreed that they would try and rob Mark Cates. They drove to Justin's house in Waynesville at around noon, but when they arrived, they noticed Justin was home, so they ditched their plans. Instead, they decided to knock on the door and socialize with Justin for about 20 minutes before leaving. Timothy and Austin then drove to Waynesville Library so they could figure out how they would be getting the money. Austin then suggested they should kill Justin. They thought they would be able to give Justin a fatal concoction, so they went to a local drugstore to purchase cold medicine and bug spray. The men who had no money tried using a credit card, but the card was declined, so they left the store empty-handed. They then drove to a nearby ATM machine, but Austin was unsuccessful because there was no money in his account. The young men then drove to a pharmacy and asked a clerk for syringes with needles, but the clerk told them to wait for the pharmacist. They were waiting for a while, so they decided to leave without them. After leaving, they drove back to Justin's house and asked if they could hang out and watch a movie. Justin, being the kind person he was, agreed, and all three of them watched a movie. Later, Justin's stepfather Mark came home from work and joined the boys in watching their movie. Mark reminded Justin that they had an appointment with a Navy recruiter, so they had to leave. Austin and Timothy left the house as well and went to a local McDonald's in Waynesville. Instead of eating, they parked in the parking lot and began plotting on how they would get the money out of the safe again. Austin suggested that they go back to the house while Justin and Mark were at their appointment by just breaking in, but Timothy rejected that idea because they did not know when they would be returning to the house. Timothy and Austin left the parking lot and went to their friend Logan Zenny's house. Logan's house was near Justin's, so they took that opportunity to scout the house out. They all left for Timothy's house. Logan and a friend by the name of Cole watched TV downstairs, while Timothy and Austin went upstairs to discuss their plans again. Timothy started writing notes in his notebook, and they finally agreed that they would kill Justin, but make it look like Justin had stolen the safe and tried to run away from home. They thought to steal anything that Justin would most likely steal. Austin then came up with the idea of killing Mark to make it look like he killed Justin and ran off, but Timothy preferred the first idea. Their planning was done, so they headed to a Lowe's store in a nearby city to buy necessary supplies for their murder. They made it back to Timothy's house and asked Logan to assemble a garrote for them. Logan did it with no questions asked. The next morning, on January 28th, Timothy and Austin went to buy more supplies, and ammonia was on the list because they thought it would destroy any DNA of theirs that would be left behind. After shopping, they decided that they would commit their crime at 1:00 p.m., but they still had time to kill. They decided to go to some antique stores, and at around 12:48 p.m., they left to fill up their car with gas. They drove past Justin's house a few times before parking in front of his house. Austin knocked on the front door, and when Justin noticed it was Austin and Timothy again, he let them in. They talked for a while, and Justin offered the men something to drink. Austin said that he did want something to drink, and he walked with Justin to the kitchen. Justin opened the refrigerator and bent down to get a drink, and as he was straightening up his body, Timothy got behind him and grabbed him. Justin began to struggle with Timothy, so Austin grabbed Justin as well. Justin kept asking why and begged for the two of them to stop. Austin used a soft voice and told Justin that everything would be okay and it was almost over. Austin continued to hold Justin down while Timothy actually killed Justin.
Obviously, Justin was trying to put up a fight, and he wasn't overpowering us.
And as Back struggled, Mosley said he began to talk to them.
A few moments after, Justin was trying to ask us why. He was pleading to stop, and pretty much begging for his life.
What did Austin say in response to these questions and statements that Justin Back is making as he's attempting to kill him.
In the lines of, it's all right, it's almost over.
After Justin died, Timothy and Austin went looking for the safe and they found it in Mark's bedroom closet. Mark later testified that he usually did keep the safe open because he forgot the combination. One day, someone accidentally closed his safe and he never bothered to try opening it for a while. Austin and Timothy loaded the safe in the car and went back to the crime scene to clean up. When they were done cleaning, they picked Justin up and put him in the back of Timothy's car. They then went back into the house and stole Justin's headphones, glasses, laptop computer, phone charger, and laptop charger. Everything took an hour, and they left Justin's house at 2 p.m. Justin's neighbor, Andrew Raymond, noticed Timothy's car in the carport and noticed men who were not Justin coming in and out of the house. While driving, Timothy started to get paranoid and thought he was being followed, so he took side roads to a remote area. When they were alone and there were no cars around, Timothy got out of the car to check to see if there was any blood on the outside of his car. While that was happening, Austin searched in Justin's wallet and found a little over $100, so he took that. Timothy got back in the car and drove to his house so that they could clean their bodies. Timothy then started to unload items from his car to his bedroom, and they also brought the safe upstairs and changed their clothes. Timothy then suggested a location to dump Justin, and they agreed on West Alexandria. They drove near Crybaby Bridge and dumped Justin behind a log. In Justin's back pocket, there was an iPod, and they took it before using ammonia and septic enzymes on Justin in an attempt to kill any DNA left behind and to help with decomposition. As if how they killed him was not bad enough, Timothy decided to get the gun they had stolen from Justin's house and handed it to Austin. Austin then shot Justin 2 times. Austin and Timothy left and drove around to ditch a few more items before returning to Timothy's house to try and open the safe. They were able to get it open, and instead of the $20,000 they expected, there was only paperwork, loose change, bullets, gun accessories, a gun, headphones, sunglasses, a coin collection, and a necklace.
This is what they ultimately found inside that safe.
Just random items.
Was it what you expected?
Not at all.
After gathering the items they wanted to keep, they burned the papers that were inside of the safe and any other evidence they could burn in a fire pit in Timothy's backyard. They then took the items they were looking to sell and drove to Logan's house, asking if they could store the safe in his bedroom. Logan agreed, and again, no questions asked. Later on, they drove to Tip County and threw the safe into a river. Justin's stepfather Mark made it to his house at around 3:30 p.m., and he noticed the table had been moved and rugs were missing. When his wife Sandy came home, they discovered that the safe was missing and his gun was as well. They tried calling Justin, but his phone was left behind in the house, and they also noticed his regular outside shoes were still in the house. Sandy and Mark notified the police, and the police ended up speaking with the neighbor Andrew, who gave them a perfect description of the car he saw in their carport. Police shared that information with Mark and Sandy, and Mark told police that the car belonged to Timothy and that Timothy and Austin were there the day before in that same car. Warren County detectives put a bolo out for Austin and the car. Clayton police ended up finding the car at Timothy's house, and they detained Austin and notified Warren County detectives. Austin was taken in for questioning on January 29th at the Clayton police station, and he denied knowing anything about Justin's disappearance or the burglary at his residence. After the interview, he was taken back to Timothy's house, and they brought Timothy in for questioning. After Timothy was interviewed, they drove him back to his house and then picked up his friend Logan, and he was also brought into the station for questioning. Logan was unaware of Timothy and Austin's actual plans, so he freely told police everything that happened over the past few days, and with that information, Clayton police officers went to go arrest Austin and Timothy. Austin and Timothy were interviewed again, and slowly, detectives were able to pull confessions from the duo. Austin initially admitted to being present when Timothy killed Justin. He denied knowing that Timothy was going to kill Justin or why he killed him. Timothy confessed and expressed the true story, so detectives questioned Austin for the 3rd time. This time, he admitted to shooting Justin after he died, and he also admitted to buying materials for the murder. He continued, however, to deny that he had any part in the actual murder. With the confessions, Austin was indicted on 9 counts.
It's up to you on what you want to do.
Tonight, for the first time and only on WLWT, an inside look at how the investigation into the death of 18-year-old Justin Back unfolded.
To this point right now, you're not free to leave.
19-year-old Timothy Mosley under arrest here at the Clayton Police Department. In the interrogation video, he's fidgety.
I want to talk. I do. That's why I'm here.
Often heard stumbling.
They want to talk to you, but it's just...
Mosley asks for a defense attorney. The questioning stops. Then is continued about 4 hours later after Mosley kicks the wall to get the detective's attention and says he again wants to talk.
After that part of it where I just paused it, does he then go in and provide details to you about the murder of Justin Back?
He does.
Prosecutors say Mosley and his friend Austin Myers planned the murder. Mosley's defense attorneys say all of their client's statements to police should be tossed out because his rights were violated.
So for 4 hours, after he had asked to speak to an attorney, nothing was done to obtain an attorney for him by you or by any law enforcement officer to your knowledge, correct?
That's correct.
Count 1 was aggravated murder with prior calculation and design with 3 death penalty specifications. Count 2 was aggravated felony murder with 3 death penalty specifications. When trial began, Austin's lawyers tried to plead that this was Austin's first offense and he had a history of mental health issues and should not be sentenced to death. Austin was quoted saying, "Even though I made a horrible mistake, I'm only 19 years old. I think there's a lot of good things that I can do with my life if you want me to keep my life. If you choose for me to die, it's only going to cause more pain and suffering for another family." Austin's mother and youngest brother also testified in court about how kind he was and how he had strong family bonds. Justin's mother, Sandy Cates, was not opposed to the death penalty and did not want Austin's age to be a determining factor in his sentencing. She was quoted saying, "We have memories, but we will have no more with our son because of the choices that you made, Austin." Justin's father said, "I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how much I hate you. I would just hope that every time you close your eyes at night, you see my son." Timothy took a plea deal and testified against Austin. Timothy said that after Austin took the $100 from Justin's wallet, he wanted to go to a pawn shop in Dayton to retrieve his gun, and he also wanted to use the gun he stole from Mark to kill his own mom and stepdad. The jury found Austin guilty on all counts and specifications on October 16, 2014. The first 2 counts that I mentioned were merged for the sake of sentencing. The jury then recommended a death sentence, and the trial judge officially sentenced Austin to death. There was an immediate appeal, and Austin presented 18 objections, but they were all denied. Later, the sentence of death was confirmed by the Ohio Supreme Court. Austin is currently on death row in Ohio. As for Timothy, because of his plea deal, he was able to escape the death sentence and received life in prison instead.
Hoping for.
It's bittersweet. It's justice for Justin, but it's never going to bring Justin back. Justin went out in a very bad way, and so we're happy with it. But again, it's sad at the same time because this could have been prevented. Austin made this choice, but it's still sad because our son had to die.
There will always be a definite hole in our lives without Justin there to fill it.
After it was over, Justin's mother said she felt justice had been served.
This is a really sad situation that never should have happened. And through this, 3 families have been forever changed in this senseless act.
The last time Austin filed for an appeal was last month on November 15, 2021, and the case status is listed as not classified by court, which means the case was dropped. Thank you all for watching another episode of Death Row Executions, and now for discussion and question time. Timothy let the court know that Austin had plans of killing his mother and stepfather. If you were Austin's mother, would you believe Timothy, or would you continue to believe and support your son, who was just convicted of murder? Emilia Carr was born on August 4th, 1984, She grew up with her mother, Maria Zayas, who said that Emilia had everything growing up. In school, she always maintained A's and B's and had even enrolled in the Army ROTC program at her high school. Although seemingly doing well in school and having an IQ of 125, she dropped out but did go on to get a GED. After getting her GED, she dabbled in modeling, photography, and had even gone to a massage therapy school for a while. Emilia was young, but had been in 2 marriages that ended in divorce. She ended up filing a restraining order against her first husband and was also spiraling out of control with an ex-husband who was a thief and was into stealing exotic birds. Emilia got caught up and was able to avoid prison time, but did get sentenced to 2 years of probation. She was now a young mom of 3 children, but her ex-boyfriend by the name of J.V. Acombe was taking care of the 1 child they had together, and her relatives were taking care of the other 2. After her failed marriages, she started a relationship with a man by the name of Joshua Damian Fulgham, who was a father of 2 with his on and off again girlfriend, Heather Strong. Emilia fell in love with Joshua and the 2 got engaged in November of 2008, but the following month in December, Joshua married the mother of his children, Heather Strong. Although feeling betrayed, Emilia surprisingly kept in contact with them, and they seemed to get along fine at first, with Emilia even agreeing to babysit Heather and Joshua's 2 children. Heather and Joshua's new marriage was not healthy, and Joshua ended up going to jail a month after they married in January of 2009. He was soon released, and the charges were dropped against him only because Emilia forced Heather to drop them. Heather was done with Joshua, left him for good, and started seeing someone else. They filed for divorce soon after, but disputed over child support and child custody. Emilia and Joshua had no issues getting back together, and in fact, Emilia was elated because she was estimated to have been around 6 months pregnant with Joshua's child. She had Joshua's back and would do anything to support him, even if that meant helping with having Heather killed to avoid him being in a legal battle over their 2 children. It was now February 2009. Heather was working at a restaurant in a petrol gas station, and for some reason she left work and was convinced or lured into a storage trailer behind Emilia's mother's house. Heather eventually died at the hands of Emilia and Joshua. Heather failed to show up to work, check in with her children, and other people, so she was reported missing on February 15, 2009. She was eventually found buried in a shallow grave on March 19, 2009. Joshua was arrested for fraud soon after Heather was reported missing because he had taken all of Heather's credit cards and was using them. He did not mention Emilia's name initially, but she too was eventually arrested because investigators were keeping an eye out on people who were close to Joshua. Investigators were able to listen to a recorded call of Emilia discussing the crime with Joshua's sister, and Joshua also ended up confessing. Emilia was arrested on March 24, 2009, and it has been reported that while being questioned, she had spoken with investigators on 10 separate occasions and had admitted to the crime without asking for legal representation each time. Although she recanted her admissions at a later date, they still held in court. While in custody, Emilia gave birth to her 4th child, and the child was given up for adoption. In a vote of 7-5, Emilia was found guilty on December 7, 2010, after her 2-week-long trial, and she was sentenced to death by method of lethal injection. As for Joshua, he was sentenced in 2012 to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Emilia was once the youngest woman on Florida's death row. She tried appealing her case, saying she had an ineffective counsel, but in 2015, the Florida Supreme Court agreed with her death sentence. It wasn't until 2016 when things changed in the state of Florida altogether. The U.S. Supreme Court had just ruled the death penalty was unconstitutional, and Florida revised what would make someone eligible for being sentenced to death. Governor Rick Scott signed off on it being mandatory for a unanimous jury decision for the death sentence, so since the jurors in Emilia's case were 7-5, she was eligible for resentencing. Emilia and another woman on Florida's death row named Tiffany Ann Cole were on a 2020 special together as the youngest women on death row at the time. Tiffany is still awaiting her new sentencing hearing, and as for Emilia, on May 19, 2017, Judge Willard Pope resentenced Emilia to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After Emilia was featured on national television, many thought she looked like a teenager, was pretty, and very articulate. They also couldn't believe she was on death row and didn't feel as if she should still be on death row. Emilia brought up how not too many rich people are on death row and made a statement about equality being an illusion. This made the mother of Heather Strong furious. She felt as if Emilia was becoming a celebrity and did not deserve the attention. She felt that Emilia was just a manipulative killer, and she was quoted saying, "Just like she saw my daughter take her last breath, I want to see her take hers. I can't help that Emilia is only 30. My daughter will never be 30. Women killers go on TV, they cry and all that, but get over it. They are still murderers and no better or worse than male killers. I will be there. God willing, let me live long enough to see that woman die. I'll be the last face I hope she sees." I'm sorry if that sounds cruel, but I don't have any sympathy for her. Heather Strong's mother, Carolyn, believed that Emilia and Joshua only wanted the two children for welfare money and that they were both evil and did not deserve to be parents or alive. She did not get her wish after Emilia's resentencing, but I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about a killer becoming famous? When they show an interview of the killer, they aren't focusing on their crime, so I think many people can be persuaded by their looks, demeanor, and emotion. Sometimes you have people rooting for the killer because they're focusing on that person 30 years after the crime that they committed, and they seem to not care about their crime in detail. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, I would like to note that for some stories I would like to share with you guys, I have to be careful what I say, and in some videos I can't mention certain childhood experiences, so I upload a more detailed version of some stories on Patreon if you are interested.